Good morning, Crossbridge family. It is Wednesday and time for your SOAP update. Today, we have started, or we're in the middle of a new book, the book of Esther. You finished the biography of Jesus, and now you're reading a story that looks completely different in the Old Testament, and you may be wondering why we're reading it. And it's because these 10 chapters are outstanding when it comes to understanding power, authority, leadership, and government. And Esther is an amazing book of the Bible. Today we're in chapter 6. Chapter 6 has this unbelievable tension that we find in it. We have the king, and we have Mordecai, and we have an official, his name is Haman. And Haman finds himself in a place where he is the celebrated highest official of the king. And Mordecai tends to just be this guy who's doing things around the castle. He's doing things around the palace and helping out. We know that he's Esther's uncle, and it ends up being that there comes a time in the king's life where he's having trouble sleeping. So like all good kings, he tends to tell his servants, would you read to me? Read to me about the things that are awesome. And he reads about, all of a sudden he hears about a time many years ago when Mordecai saved his life. And so he begins in his head to think, how in the world can I honor this guy? He doesn't know what to do, so he goes to his highest official and says, if you had someone who you knew was awesome, what would you do to really celebrate this person? Now, Haman is so funny because he thinks in his head the king's talking about him. He's got himself on this high throne, right? He is seated up high above everybody else. He's been telling his family how awesome he is. Everybody in the kingdom knows how awesome he is. And he has this hatred towards the Jewish people. He wants them dead because Mordecai isn't bowing down to him like everybody else is. So there's some pride involved. So when the king asks him, what would you do? Do you know what he does? He begins to say, I'd parade him around. I'd make him the biggest deal in the world. I would put my robe on him and my ring on him. I would make him so celebrated. And so the king's like, this is a great idea. You know, Mordecai, go do it for Mordecai. Go do it for him. And I have trouble because in Esther chapter 6, this is what we read. In verse 12, afterward Mordecai returned home to the palace gate, but Haman hurried home, dejected and completely humiliated. You see, as we look at this passage, there is something so reminiscent to me about what Jesus says in Matthew chapter 20, if you remember from a couple weeks ago in his biography, where he talks about servants and leaders, and he talks about the people who try to elevate themselves so high to be the most awesome. Jesus says that's not what a leader is. A leader is the one who serves. A leader is the one who doesn't draw attention to themselves, doesn't put themselves on a pedestal, but serves because that's what Christ himself has done, right? So the question today for you and I is, are we doing what we're doing to be honored and celebrated? Are we doing what we're doing to be seen so we can be paraded around and celebrated, saying, look how great you are? Or are we in a position where we would say, I am going to do what is right, what is godly and what looks Christ-like, regardless of who sees it? Because in the end, we know that our King, Jesus Christ, who sits on his throne, sees what no one else does. And when we return home to heaven, he will say, job well done, my good and faithful servant. What you have done to the least of these, you've done to me. Enter into my kingdom. Crossbridge. Let's look and live like Jesus. Let's look and live like Jesus. Loving people without any expectation of recognition. It doesn't matter how many likes, it doesn't matter how many shares. It matters how much we love. Crossbridge, I love you, I miss you, and I can't wait to see you this Sunday. God bless you.